Hello everybody and welcome to lesson 14 out of 15 on the digital SAT reading and writing course. Today's lesson is going to be on misplaced subjects. So what is that? Well, a misplaced subject question will give you a prompt and then a blank where you will have to fill in multiple forms of the same phrase, okay? The subject is, of course, what you're going to be tested on, and that's the thing that the prompt is talking about and describing. And remember, in these questions, the subject must always come after the comma. What does this all mean? Well, we're about to see. Which choice completes the text so that it conforms to the conventions of standard English? You'll notice this is a grammar question, okay? And we'll get into why that is in a second. In assessing the films of Japanese director Akira Kurosawa, blank, have missed his equally deep engagement with Japanese artistic traditions such as no theater. Okay, so if we look at the questions here, we can see that many critics appears in every single question. And they're talking about Western literary sources. But the way they're saying this, the way that they're tying together critics and Western literary sources changes. So we actually have to pick the one here which is grammatically correct. Okay, so let's look at actually what would make this obviously correct, okay? So we'll see right here, it says the subject must always come after the comma. What is the subject here? Well, the subject is going to be the critics, actually, because we have our comma here, so we have a dependent clause, a new idea coming after. That idea is that the critics actually have missed his equally deep engagement with Japanese artistic traditions. Okay, so because we have the critics is actually the subject here, that would make A correct, and we're gonna go more into depth on this later, right? But let's just look at B, C, and D, okay? If B was to be put in here, that would make who is assessing the films Kurosawa, which we know is not correct, okay? Because in assessing the films of Japanese director Akira Kurosawa's use of Western literary sources has been the focus, right? So this is the subject, right? Kurosawa's use of Western literary sources is the subject, but it's not the proper subject here because this right here talks about have misses equally deep engagement. This doesn't fit with that, okay? And C, the subject in this case would be there are, right? Which doesn't make sense at all, okay? And D would be the focus would become the subject, which is, well, it's just the focus, it's not the critics, it's just the focus, and the focus can't miss his equally deep engagement. It would have to be the critics which miss it, obviously, right? So A would be correct. Okay, these ones, if you know the trick, it's actually very straightforward. Your subject that you're talking about here has to come after the comma, okay? Because the comma means you're starting a new idea. And if you watch the punctuation video, you'll know that after a comma, you have a dependent clause, okay? This dependent clause needs something to give it meaning, and in this case, your subject is going to be doing that. And if your subject comes later on, what you have directly after the comma becomes your new subject, basically. Okay, so obviously you would have the focus instead of the many critics because the focus came after the comma, not the critics. Okay, the focus, and that would not be grammatically correct because you can't say the focus have missed his equally deep engagement. Okay, you'd have to say the critics have missed his equally deep engagement. Okay, so that concludes the lesson. Okay, some final tips. Obviously, notice the question, find the subject, and look for the comma. Looks like I spelled comma there a little bit wrong, but you get the idea, right? So these questions are very straightforward once you know that trick. Okay, try to keep it in mind because then you'll be able to answer these questions very quick. Okay, practice makes perfect. Make sure you analyze some of these questions as best you can, and you can find a resource that will let you take the SAT online. Thank you for watching this. Good luck on your SATs in the future. My name is Joseph Misak. Please subscribe. It helps me make more videos for you all. And goodbye.